Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hot Pole Podcast. And joining me this week is Mr. Perfecto de Castro. How are you
Hello,
doing?
everybody. I'm pretty good, Adam. How's it going?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had quite a busy day. Being typical adult, I went to view a primary school today because I'm getting to that age where kids, schools, oh god.
Well, I'm past that. My kids are 16 and 20, so
Cool.
but it doesn't get easier though.
No, I can imagine that. Oh man, what a week it's been as well since we've seen everybody at home. How is everybody
Yeah.
in chat? Let us all know how you are doing in the comments. If you've not seen Perfecto de Castro before, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? This man is, talking of rock, the guitarist in Rock Stallion, and is a very well-known guitar YouTuber who is... do you want to tell a story of your background and history before I say anything that is just wrong?
Okay. I started in the Philippines back in the 90s where I was in bands. We released records and toured the country and all that. And then um I moved to the US here in Los Angeles around 2004 with my whole family. And I've been through different phases. I've been I've done the rock guitar thing. And then at one point I was a full-time classical guitarist. And now I am a guitar of all trades plus YouTube. So there it is.
Definitely enough to be keeping a man busy, and with over 1 million subscribers, that is no mean feat.
No, not a million.
I thought it
Well,
was.
no, it's only a quarter of that.
Oh, that's...
Uh,
I don't know where I got that number then, but that is
yeah,
still way more than me.
yeah. I just passed like 275 the other day. You must be thinking of either Paul Davids or Kafir. Although
Mm,
we do share the same good looks.
yes. No, I know that Paul has over 2 million, but I
There
just
you go.
must have got my wires crossed there because I do apologize, but still, I mean, you are doing this full time, right? You're incredibly successful. I mean,
Well,
what
full-time
numbers
musician
between,
there.
yeah, what numbers between friends? Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've played on stage with you very briefly, and
Oh yeah.
man, what a
Yeah.
player as well.
That was a fun night.
Yeah. Oh man, if I remember rightly, you were playing through the just about the cheapest, most basic amp setting I've ever seen. What was it? Hughes and Kettner Matrix, was it?
And a Behringer V amp, the rack version,
Yeah.
which is funny because it kind of felt like going full circle because when I first moved to the US, of course, had to leave all my gear behind in the Philippines, and my home recording rig consisted of that little V amp two, the Behringer V amp two,
Yeah.
plugged straight into the computer. So I was like, oh, I remember this tone.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a bass player first, but my first kind of tone was a Zoom 506. If you remember the Zoom 505, was it?
Oh, dude, I have a Zoom 505 sitting in that drawer right there, and I gigged with that when it was first came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up having to buy a second one because I gigged mine so hard I jumped on it during a show and actually cracked the board in half.
Oof.
Yeah. When you're an excitable teenager and you don't realize it's an entirely plastic housing. Grunge.
Yeah, yeah. But that those units, like, served a lot of guitar players,
Oh,
especially during the
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, those presets were a little much, but
Well, it
if you...
sounded good at the time.
Yeah. It didn't take me long, especially with the bass version, to realize that you had to kind of program your own sounds because you come to preset one and it was like the flanges on and the distortions on, and it's like, whoa! It's like the bass version
Well,
of Eddie Van Halen. It's like, careful now.
well, you know how the multi effects patches work, right? They're not technically they're not there to sound good. but they're there to showcase what it's capable of. So everything is like amped up.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
nothing is
absolutely.
usable yet. Yeah, you have to tweak it.
I do.
And with those units, the EQ work weird. Usually if you boost something, you get more.
Mm.
But for some reason, like the EQ, if you go into the higher numbers, you get more scoop tone. If you get into the lower numbers, it works differently. But anyway.
Yeah. Do you still find that's a good question? Do you still find that with the new units they still suffer from kind of preset-itis, that they still puts far too crazy presets on these things where you turn it on and you go, whoa?
Some units do. Although nowadays I guess the in thing is to sort of emulate popular patches or popular sounds,
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a Metallica tone or a basic Guns N' Roses tone or basic Van Halen tone.
Yeah.
And then you work your way out from there. And some people actually don't leave those presets anymore. That's why tone packs are so popular. They just buy the preset and use that.
Well, I suppose that the difference between the old units that we were using and the ones now is they have a screen where you can actually write on what that's trying to emulate.
Oh, yes. Instead of a number.
Yeah, because if it says like Eddie tone or something like that, at least it already comes up in your mind rather than just this is preset A1.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
That's that one little thing I suppose could change everything. But yeah, I've not really kept up with the digital modeling stuff. The newest thing I have back there is I've got an Axe-Fx 1, an Axe-Fx Ultra, which is pretty good actually. I still use it for the effects and not for the amps. Because I got it actually quite recently. Something that John Petrucci from Dream Theater has done for a long time is exactly that, where he uses Mesa amps, always has done, Mesa cabs, but for the effects like the wahs and the choruses and all that kind of stuff, he uses the Axe-Fx, and they're really good for that.
Yeah.
So I don't really do amp modeling these days.
Yeah, I think Steve Vai uses his Axe-Fx the same way. It's just for the for the extra sauce on top.
Well, they are exceptionally good for that kind of thing. I mean, they're also really good for actual amp modeling now, but I don't know. There's just, I mean, especially as a studio guy, I find that people want me to use the real analog stuff, which if they're paying me to come and use the facilities, then that's kind of what I got to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why go to a studio when you can use gear you already have?
Yeah.
You wanna use gear that you don't have.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's time we should talk about the news.
Okay, let's do it.
It's time for the news. So, first up, our headline article, the Revv Amplification G8 Noise Gate. Which, if anyone's been watching the channel as a regular follower, you may have seen the interview that we did with Justin Trudeau, the head of Revv Amps, last year. And we did talk about an upcoming gate, and I said, hey, why don't you call it the G8? And he's like, yep, might do that. Which tells me they'd probably already decided that, because here it is. It's a bit of a no-brainer. They had the G2, G3, G4. G8 sounds like gate. Why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
Marketing win.
Actually, I was I was sent this pedal and I was trying to figure out what to do as far as the video goes. And it was like G8, and it didn't really register right away. I was kind of slow that way. It's like G8. Why did they skip several numbers? And then later, as I was saying, okay, it's a noise gate. It's a noise gate. Gate. G8. Gate. Okay. It's like, oh God, I can't believe I didn't catch that right away.
I suppose it's one of those things where it either clicks straight away or it doesn't. But there you go. It's now that you said it, you're like, oh yeah. But yeah, it sounds really good from the demos I've heard from Fluff. And have you released your demo?
Yeah. Yet? Oh yeah. I did something different.
Oh,
You're gonna like it.
okay.
You're gonna like it because you typically it's like oh here, listen to that. What you don't hear is oh sorry.
That's all right. The canine gate.
Yeah. So uh, what you don't hear is the pedal working, or hear the silence, or listen to how quiet it was. So with the G8, with the gate, I actually used it as a side chain, and I had an outside source trigger my guitar sound, and it turned out to be a pretty fun video. So you got to check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds great. I mean, using the sidechain function is something that a lot of people don't think to use at all. So that's really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, something I've been looking for in gates for a long time is a proper sidechain function with the in and the out on the sides. It surprises me how many gates don't do that. I know the old Boss noise gate does, but
To an extent.
yeah,
Uh, but I think what sets the Revv G8 apart is the addition of the hold knob,
yeah,
because usually it's just threshold and release, and
Mm.
and then you don't get much more control than that.
Yeah.
So what made this an effective sidechain gate is the presence of those knobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The Boss noise gate, it's not the best gate for modern playing, I suppose. That times have changed, and I would bet money that Boss will quite soon come up with the NS3 new, because that's what they do, right? They look
Yeah.
at trends and they go, we should do that and just kill the market and just own everybody.
Yeah.
Actually, in the background, I'll just grab something that I got this week. It's all plugged in, so I'll just have to unplug it. I got this, which is the Dead Wheeled Audio Golem. This is also a gate, and it's also got the kind of side inputs. This I got because we played this at 42 Gear Street. Did you do the Builder Board video?
Oh, I wasn't able to do the builder board. I had
Right.
a slot scheduled at the same time.
It does happen. But yeah, I got to play them, and the gate was the Golem, which was incredible. It's actually two gates. It's a really clampy, really aggressive gate, and then a much more natural one on a switch.
Okay.
This is way more expensive than the Revv one, though.
Okay.
Which I think it cost me €250, which is, let's have a look at the cost of the. I know. Oh, it's €219 for the Revv, so it was more. And
Yeah.
there's a really big wait time on these, and I had to get it custom ordered because they're only a small builder. So there are definite downsides. But for me, this thing had what I want because it's got like a remote connection because it's got two different gates in it.
Okay.
So I could have this at the back on the amp, and I could then use like a relay switcher to make that change with the clean channel or the drive channel.
Okay.
So I could have kind of a gentle noise gate on the clean channel. It's nothing crazy, and then go really aggressive for the really aggressive sounds.
Yeah. Well, I have to be honest. I don't use gates.
Right.
Yeah, because
that's absolutely cool, and I wish I didn't have to use gates. But either my playing isn't the cleanest as on guitar. I'm a bass player first, so hold my hands up. Not the best. But beyond that, I get sent files from all over the world, and they may be amazing. They might not be, and I don't know day to day. Right? I don't know what I'm going to get.
Okay.
So I need to be ready in case. And if I get a guitar player where I don't need to use a gate, that's fantastic. But because I work in a lot of kind of heavy metal stuff, the amp's already quite often really boosted and high gain anyway. And the tiniest little bits can really stand out if they're, if they're there in places they shouldn't be. So yeah, gating is quite important to me because of external reasons.
Yeah. Well, if you're in that genre, then a gate is a must. Actually,
Yeah.
it's a requirement, especially when you're dealing with high gain. And the only thing is, like, for my usual playing, the stuff I usually play, I play a lot of like open stuff. It's not start and stop, so I can get away without a gate. But if it's like a lot of choppy, like intense rhythms, where you absolutely need it to be articulate in between the stops, then you need a gate. Although during the course of testing this, do you find that when you, well, because I found myself wishing that if I was to use a gate full time, I need two settings, one for the rhythm setting and another for when I go into the leads.
Yeah.
Because when I set the threshold for my rhythm, I naturally hit the guitar harder.
Right.
And then when I go into the lead stuff, the threshold set for the rhythm sort of starts to interfere with the playing.
Yeah, you want it to ring out a little more, and
yeah.
Sure.
Although I guess that's probably what the boost pedal is for then. But,
yeah,
but then you're stuck with a particular gate setup as opposed to when you double gate where the guitar's direct signal triggers the opening. So I don't know. It's all new to me.
Yeah, it does make it complicated as well. That's for sure. If you can just go ahead without one, that's ideal, right?
Yeah.
I've done videos before on my channel where I've used a 5150, which is a pretty high gain amp, with no gate at all, and people are asking me on stream what gate are you using, and I'm like, I'm not. They've got quite clean power in the studio. I'm just being really careful not to touch it in between playing, that kind of thing. But in the middle of a show, and if I'm doing something that's kind of beyond my ability, because I'm not the best guitarist, I practice bass more than anything. I don't do enough on guitar. And again, not enough hours in a day. Then, yeah, it's kind of what I need. But yeah, I'm hoping to check one of these out soon. I know John Brown's got one. His video hasn't dropped yet because he's in the middle of recording the last of the new Monuments album. So he's super busy.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. But I'm hoping, and this isn't a guarantee, but I'm hoping to bring all the noise gates that I have and all the noise gates that he has together, because we've all kind of got different ones, and maybe do some sort of shootout of them. But we'll see. We'll see where we get to with that. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Isotope have just dropped RX9. I don't know if you saw this. Are you the kind of guy that uses RX a lot?
I have it. I've maybe used it a couple of times, but not really.
Right. I use it all the time because, again, with video editing, I get sent things. Like I'm working on a secret project right now, which will be revealed very soon. Not for myself, for somebody else, because I do a lot of video editing for other people. And it was recorded in a really reverby, really echoey room. And the Isotope D-Reverb is really good at cleaning that up and really kind of bringing the clarity back on the vocal. So that's a really good, yeah.
Yeah. I use Ozone a lot. But I don't find myself fixing audio to warrant the R. What do you call it again? I don't even know. RX9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the kind of thing where if things aren't perfect, like Henning uses RX on everything that he does because he's just so particular about, he doesn't want the reverb or the background noise or anything. I personally don't know if Henning needs to use it because I think his audio is good enough, but he's being really picky. I've worked on film sound before where without it, it just sounds like a mess. And now with version 9, they've got this new dialogue isolate control, which is really clever at pulling out, say there's wind or rustling or noise on a track, it can just eliminate so much of that. Because I think the one of the issues you get with a classic denoiser is a lot of the time when you get rid of the noise, you get rid of a lot of the natural sounds, and it sounds like you're swimming underwater.
Yeah,
it sounds really bad.
Yeah. The old it introduces some phasing stuff.
Yeah.
And which is probably why I've written out denoisers since then, because it doesn't really it doesn't really excite me as much. Though now I guess you're going to send me into a whole new rabbit hole.
Maybe. I mean, it's the kind of thing where to do it right, I found that you have to be quite gentle. But doing
Yes.
it right can be the difference between kind of an amateur sounding production and a real polished sound, if there was even a slight kind of something.
Hmm.
And because standards get ever higher, and we're expected to do these ridiculously, unreasonably perfect productions, it's the kind of thing that can just help elevate if you need to, because it's more of a competition than it's ever been these days.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, little things like the new feature of the de-hum module. Traditionally, if you've got like mains noise going brrrr in the background, you
Yeah.
can remove it. But let's say you've got a guitar and you're moving it around, it goes brrrr, and it's there one place and it's not the others. The new dynamic version, it seems like it only engages when it has to, so the tone is more natural when it doesn't need to do any work.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they're starting to get really clever with this kind of thing now. Yeah, so I'm going to be
Huh.
checking that out very soon. I've been sent a copy of RX9 to check out and make a video on. My workload has been crazy, but that is coming very, very soon.
Nice, nice. I look forward to that.
Okay.
Now, what else do we
So,
have new?
yes. So, Boss have got
Oh, I saw that.
the new looper with all the controls ever.
Yeah.
And it's got 3 loops on, so it looks like this is their take on Ed Sheeran's crazy looping system, but condensed down into a small unit.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen Ed Sheeran's thing.
Yeah, it's this weird pedal board with big buttons on it.
Yeah, I think it's like a boomerang pedal or 2 or 3 of them, and
Yeah.
kind of mashed together and some crazy setup. And it looks like Boss are trying to go, hey, we can do that. Oh, it looks like there are actually 6 separate layers that you can control.
Wow.
So you must have to press 2 buttons together to switch banks or something. But yeah, that's some
Yeah.
serious 9 assignable foot switches. That's some serious next level stuff.
Yeah. I'd rather play with a band.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I completely get that. I've seen people do stuff with loopers though, where at the end of it, your head hurts and you're just like, wow, and you just walk off. But I know it's not for everybody. It's not for me
Yeah.
either. But
Well, no, it's looping is fun.
mm,
You know, when I mess around with it, I have a lot of fun. Um, well, not problem, but head starts hurting when I want it to be more presentable to other people. you know, so
yeah,
you don't want to. It's I've done live looping in my live streams before, and then there's the occasional comment like, "Wow, this is so boring,"
Hmm.
because I have to wait for the whole loop to complete before I introduce the next part. And I don't know, it's maybe I have to up my looping chops. But like I said, I'd rather get into a room with people and just do that.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot to be said for that human feedback thing,
Hmm.
for sure. But yeah, if you want to spend a lot of money, that's $600, and you can go and get one of these right now.
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
that's your thing, it'll be worth it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got onboard drum kits, so you can actually do full like drum accompanied loops, that kind of thing. So
Wow.
that's the next stage. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to something tiny pedals. Harley Benton have just launched the new mini Stomp range. So
Oh,
Harley Benton,
wow.
Toman's own brand, are getting into the cheap Chinese pedal market with their own brand. I suppose they've figured we've sold enough of everybody else's, why not do our own range?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a guess that this is white labeled from somebody like Nux or someone like that.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, Omu or
Yeah.
somebody in that range. I mean, it's possible they're doing
Yeah.
their own
Like,
thing, but I would thought it was unlikely.
yeah, they also kind of look like the what was that? Tone City? You remember those?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it looks like they're doing. Oh dear, they've got terrible names as well. There's a DI box on the edge that I can see is called Magnum DI. Yeah, and they've got what I think is an octaver called the Sub, and a rat pedal called Rodent. So they're really not hiding what they're doing here.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
massive list.
can't be worse than the moist reverb.
Oh yeah, Andy Ferris's favorite pedal, the Moist.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an auto wah called Shaft, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a big list of stuff here, and it looks like they're almost all €19.90, so €20 for these.
Wow.
The
Well,
micro cab and the digital delay here are 35, but it looks like they've got more complicated insides.
yeah. It's a great time to be a beginner now.
Yeah, I wish so much of this stuff was out when I was beginning, because oh my, I spent so
What
much money on like Digitech pedals that were $100+ each.
what was your first pedal?
I think it was that Zoom 505, but
Okay.
after that, I think it was a Digitech bass synth wah that
Oh,
made
okay.
some big sounds, because
Yeah.
I was a bass player and I was really into Muse at the time, and I wanted to do those big oh my god kind of sounds.
Yeah.
And I really loved that pedal, but the downside to it was it didn't have a volume. It didn't have a level control. So it was way louder than everything. And yeah, that was a bit of a deal breaker, because you'd turn it on at the show and you were just like, ah! Yeah. So yeah, if you want to be noticed, that was definitely good for that. But
Yeah,
oh
definitely.
man. Yeah, I was never one to go for the simple stuff first. I was always, hey, that's crazy. Now, moving on. Schecter may get quite a lot of sales off this. This is the new Machine Gun Kelly signature. He is talk of the town right now,
Yeah.
because he's had some serious beefs with everybody.
Yeah. Well,
But there you go. It's simple. It's got a single humbucker. It's a kind of fuchsia pink type. It's called Tickets to My Downfall Pink. If I remember rightly, this was his album was #1.
okay.
It's an older guitar, 25.5, so it's a Super Strat. 24 jumbo frets, yeah, so it's a Super Strat, and $900.
Yeah. Super telly.
Super Telly. I do apologize, but yeah, that's super.
Super something.
Yeah, that kind of idea.
Yeah.
It's always got Luminlay glow in the dark on the side. But as Dan from Ibanez once told me, pink for the likes, black for the sales. Everybody's going to look at that and go, oh, that's really pretty. No, I don't want that.
Yeah, no. I don't think it takes guts to play a pink guitar.
Or it takes being 14 and not caring.
Well, I know I have a pink guitar and I have one coming, so
awesome.
I'm past that.
But as a professional guitarist, you can also not care.
Well, it works, because like in the field that we're in, we need the likes too. So
yeah, absolutely. Get people's attention and be like, look at this. I played a show on Saturday, and I said to the band mid set, it wasn't in the set, but I said, let's play The Darkness. So yeah, getting that kind of thing going. Like, yeah, it surprised me how the whole crowd were going crazy. It was great. But yeah, 80s rock will never die.
Yes. Oh yeah. If you wanna like just lift the mood of the room and have everybody just relive their rock and roll fantasies, that's the way to go.
Yes. So next up, we've got Claro by Sonox, which is the Sony Oxford. Those guys really know what they're doing in terms of plugins. I've got the inflator from them, which I didn't really know what to do with until recently, and then tried it and was like, sold. Okay, cool. But yeah, the Claro is a very clever equalizer. Who needs another EQ? Oh, boring. But it's got 3 different modes. I saw that Fluff did a video with it earlier today. And it's got low, mid, and high, and you think, oh, whoop-de-doo, and they're nice and simple. But then you go into this mix mode, and you can see not only all the different frequency bands, and you can have as many as you like, but if you stack different versions of this plugin on different tracks, you can pull them all up in the same view, so you can see what frequencies are kind of lighting up like a Christmas tree and overlapping on each other.
Oh, nice.
So you can really start to
that's
see where,
handy.
you can see in your mix where it's like, why are the mids so like, oh, because the guitars and the vocal and this and that are all in the same place, right? So yeah, very helpful for people who are not exactly the most confident, I think, on the mixes and can see exactly where the problems are.
Yeah.
Which I wish I'd had things like that when I was learning, because I had to do it the old school way, which is just fail a lot of times.
I had to do it. My first visual EQ reference was on one of those Yamaha digital mixers. You remember those?
Yeah.
The O2R and O3V. But
Oh,
prior to that, prior to that, it's all just, you sort of guess the position of the knob, and that looks like 500K.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
5K.
if I don't know if you've ever used an old school SSL desk, but
Mm.
I learned that I learned afterwards that where the numbers are not actually accurate. So like, if it says 500, if it says 600, it's actually kind of different.
Yeah. Well, not on an SSL, but I've worked on a Soundcraft and the regular Mackeys and all that.
Yeah.
It's wherever the guy was feeding those sheets to be printed on.
Yeah.
That's where that's gonna be where it is.
Right. Yeah. For a long time in our studio we had an Allen and Heath desk. It was very similar, where it was just kind of like, it sounds close enough. But yeah, I learned on an O2R96, and if I never touch one again, I will be happy. Ugh. Ugh. But yeah. So there you go. This is available now for £99, which is, if you want that thing of different frequencies, that's not bad value, actually. Moving on, Blackstar have got the new Department 10 new valve-based pedals. And hey, didn't Blackstar used to make all these valve-based pedals? The HT series, like the HT Dual.
Oh, they did.
Because I think these are just redesigned versions of those.
Well, maybe smaller footprints, because I remember those were like pretty big.
They were pretty big, but then these are 2-button. Well, the outside two of these are 2-button pedals. They're pretty big. So yeah, there's the dual drive, dual distortion, and the boost, and it looks like they've got more controls than the old ones did. So maybe they've got the design they've got and made a Mark II kind of version, rebranded it. I know they've got the cab sim stuff inbuilt, which I'm quite confident wasn't there in the originals.
Yeah.
Because this is back in early 2000s when nobody did like cab sims inbuilt on anything.
Yeah.
If you were lucky, you got one of those emulated line outs on your amp that sounded like poopy.
Yeah. Just the lows and the highs shelved.
Yeah, so it just sounded like...
Yeah. Yeah,
oh,
like
I recorded so much of that.
The 505 cab sim.
Yeah. The 505 cab sim was just that it sounded bad.
Yes. It's like a loaf of bread in the EQ.
Yeah. Frequency response. Sure, whatever. Marty's asking what kind of voltage is in there. Let's have a look, see if there's anything in the news article. Because that's a good question. 200 volts. So these are properly powered valves, which is good.
But how are they powering those? With just the regular 9 volts?
It'll be a 9 or 12 volt input with a step up.
There's probably like a step up, internal step up.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. Like, I've got a 2 notes La bass pedal down here, which has got a valve in it that runs at 200 volts. But what people don't realize is that a valve doesn't need very much power at 200 volts. It needs almost nothing.
Okay.
Because it's just a sound processor. It's not trying to drive anything. That's what power valves are for, right? Because the power valves, you feed them the mains and watch the lights dim. But the preamp stuff, you only need to feed them the high voltage just to change the sound a little bit. Most of the power actually goes to the heater to making them glow. Which isn't just to be pretty. That's so that they're warm so they work. But yeah, that's...
Do you remember that whole debacle from Behringer a while back? They had the valves, and then they had an LED right behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make it look pretty.
Yeah, so many companies do that. It's so funny. Even actually, 2 Notes did that with the La bass, but that was for a different reason, that changes color to show the channels and that kind of thing.
Right.
But they actually say on the box, no, this is a full... Yeah, it's not a starved voltage tube, which is... Yeah. the easy way of doing it, which is why Behringer did that, because it's cheaper to make.
Yes.
But yeah, oh, so there's a full
Oh, it's
XLR out and USB. Okay,
nice.
that's new. That's cool.
Yeah, it's probably like you can load IRs on it.
Yeah, well, definitely that's what it said. There's actually a USB output as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so
Architect and
that's
virtual cabs.
very clever.
Interesting.
That stuff was definitely not there on the previous versions.
Yeah.
Now, the dual drive and distortion are £250 each, which is not cheap for a pedal. But it's got separate output and cab sim output as well. Well, it's got some very clever features that definitely weren't there on the original HT series. I was joking as to whether it actually sounds like the original HT series. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But they were actually really good pedals. I remember them very clearly as being really quite high quality. But they kind of fell out of favour because fashion, I guess. But I'm also noticing here there's a send and return, which my first thought was, what's the need for that? But if it's got USB output, then you can actually, put things like choruses, delays, reverbs in the loop before the USB out, which is really cool.
Well, that's going to be your amp then. It's
Yeah.
Like for an ampless rig.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to me, because the original pedals were definitely designed to drive an amp. So maybe they revoiced it so it can stand alone, which is really exciting. But yeah, there you go. They're a thing you can go and buy now. Moving on, me and Andy Ferris were joking about this one. This is the Deluxe Memory Man Nano with the controls that are too small to grab properly.
Wow.
I mean, hopefully the sound is great, but
probably set and forget kind of deal.
I would have thought so. But I mean, so many guys get things like the Memory Man and they play with it during the show. It seems to be that kind of pedal that works for people to, do the tweaky kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we were joking about, wouldn't it be cool if they made this pedal but just a little bit bigger so that you could get to all the controls? It's like, hey, they already do that.
Can be as big as you want.
Yeah. Yeah, the full-size Memory Man, it's the size of a full house brick. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want it, they are $200 and tiny and will fit on your bud. And like you say, like Perfecto says, if this is the kind of pedal where you set and forget, that might actually be better for you to have on your bud to take up less space and still get that electro-harmonic sound. It's a great sound. I love the sound of the Memory Man. That kind of slightly wobbly, that delay that fills the space out.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm mixing, if I need a delay on guitars, I quite often use Sound Toys' Echo Boy plugin on a Memory Man sound.
Okay.
And it just gives me that thing.
It just deepens the sound and fills it out without getting in the way of everything else.
Absolutely. But that big wobbly kind of thing, that's in there. It's not subtle. But yeah. Moving on, Waves have announced the V13 of their plugins, and I'm probably not going to bother updating that for a while. It's got support for Windows 11 and the new Apple M1 Silicon, which is cool, but I'm not running either of those.
So, me neither. So
last week I said that I had tried Windows 11 and Premiere didn't work and OBS didn't work, so I just went back.
Yeah, let's wait a while.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hold off just a little while we get that sorted. But yeah, I think it's a free upgrade if you're on the update plan. If you're not on the update plan, then of course Waves will, they'll charge you. Because that's how Waves work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's not say too much about that because I could get on a soapbox.
Okay.
Here's something that I got an email about this week. One Bit Dragon. Yeah, version 3.
Okay.
Which is a tracker of sorts, which, if you've ever listened to classic games that have that kind of, they've only got maybe 3 or 4 different ways of making sound and they really make the most of it to that bloop, 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 bloop kind of thing. Yeah. That's what this does, but with a slightly more modern interface so that you can control it quicker. And I think this looks really cool that you can do a lot of that bloop, bleep kind of thing.
Yeah.
I really want to check this out and do something a little different with it. See if I can make a rock sound with just bloop, 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 bloop.
Or you can use the grid to draw something and see how that sounds. or write a word.
Mm. Yeah. So, yeah.
It'll
Yes.
be something.
Actually, on that, Periphery, the band Periphery, put a post on
Mhm.
Instagram yesterday.
Mhm.
They're recording their new album right now, and just for a laugh, one of their guys had made a little thing in Cubase in MIDI that was just that wrote "Fat Dracula" just
Okay.
in notes. So when he played it, it went like blah, 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 and it was the funniest thing because it just sounded actually really cool.
Yeah, I remember like sometime last year too. Do you know Andy Gillen?
Yes.
He put out this video where he wrote coronavirus in MIDI,
Yeah.
and that got a lot of views, and it kind of sounded cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that people have done for a little while now. I've seen a few variations of that, but it is really funny and it takes some doing to get it to sound half decent actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, an old friend of mine when I was at university, so we're talking 15 years ago or more. She was a composer and she was bored one day and got some sheet music and a marker and wrote the word bored, one letter at the time, bored across 5 pages. And then
Whoa.
she laid that out and then got some more sheet paper and then scored that out for orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, whoa, okay, that's
How did
ridiculous.
how did it sound?
It sounded really crazy, actually,
Uh
because it started because the downstroke of B is just a flat line that goes down and everything played at once. The whole orchestra came in as just, blah, and then it kind of, and it was really cool, and it got performed at the Huddersfield Contemporary Music Festival, which is like the biggest contemporary music thing that was in Europe at the time. I don't know if it still is.
wow.
But yeah, just because it was just something so different, because someone had actually orchestrated that, and it was just like, wow,
She really was bored then.
yeah. But yeah,
Too much time in your hands.
to be a university student again and have so much free time, oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing I could do in One Bit Dragon. So if I find time, I'll try and make some video about this because it is, I think it's £20. That's it.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
what, €25, $30 at a push.
Yeah.
So not that
Pretty easy
much
to get into.
Yeah. And finally, our final news article of this week. If you need to tune your guitar, what do you do? Google
I
it.
saw that. I saw that.
So yeah, if you are short of an instrument tuner and you have a phone or a laptop or anything with a microphone, you can now just Google "tune my guitar," and there is an inbuilt tuner in Google, which I thought
Nice.
was brilliant because everybody Googles a tuner and finds a page with ads on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now there's no excuse. You get Google gives you a tuner and a metronome.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, the fact that they're just available to you now, somebody at Google has programmed these in their spare time, I'm guessing, and it's just been like, ta-da!
It's awesome. Like I remember when I was starting out, I didn't have a tuner.
Right.
I had one of those tuning forks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I learned how to set up my Floyd Rose guitar with a tuning fork.
Oh my word. That's dedication, my man. That is absolute dedication.
I know. And now I just open up a web page and you get a full feature tuner.
For anyone who's not aware just how impressive that is, so let's say you've tuned your A to a 440 to a tuning fork, or whatever the note was, right? Then you tune the other strings to it and the bridge moves, and then suddenly the original note's out of tune. So then you have to check it again and again and oh my, wow.
End up chasing stuff.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, but it was good. It was great ear training. So
yeah, I can imagine. And I had to do some of that too because one of my first guitars was a Jackson, I think it was Indonesian, which had a copy of a Floyd Rose, and good luck if that stayed in tune ever. And yeah, just constantly, continuously learning how to like over tune some of the notes so that they kind of brought themselves in relatively. Oh wow, yeah. And then, of course, on the bass side of things, I'd tune it and I'd come back to it 3 days later and it'd still be in tune. So
There you go. Yeah,
yeah,
like
it was a
the
bit of an
more
easier
modern
life.
guitars. Yeah. Yeah, especially when like coming from Floyd Rose, then you experience a hardtail guitar for the first time. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's everything's so much easier.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a difference. But yeah, that was the news. Thank you for hosting the
Nice.
news with me there, Mr. De Castro.
Oh,
So,
my pleasure. My pleasure.
any questions
Yeah.
now from the chat? That is a good time to get them in for Perfecto, especially. But if you've got any music production questions in general, now's also a good time to get those in. We sometimes answer questions about different microphone choices or what guitar should I get, or we've even had things about guitar cables, which, oh boy, that's a rabbit hole to go down. But yes, I've just set up while we're waiting for that. I'm doing a video this week on the new Ampcraft plugin from Kazrog, which is an almost exact recreation of a PV5150. Which I'm very much looking forward to. The guys at Kazrog are really good at this kind of thing. And I played with it today, didn't film, I just set everything up. And it was almost perfect. My 5150 had a little more low ending with the exact same cab response, exact same IR, all that kind of thing. But, I mean, it was the kind of thing where the little bit of an EQ, and I'm talking you get the bass and you go down to, done. They got it. And of course, this is a conversation that I've had with our friend John Brown. He hates 5150s.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he is the kind of guy who plays really aggressively, so he likes amps that are a little bit cleaner because they bring that jing 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 kind of thing out, right?
Yeah.
But he's recording most of his new album with a 5150, which is kind of like, oh, what? Wait, what?
Well, he has the right to change his mind.
Yeah, but here's his perspective, because we're good friends. Like, I was with him when he went and bought it. He hates 5150s, but he tried this particular one, and it worked for him. And it's something that people don't realize about analog equipment is that every part inside has a 10% tolerance. So it might be that every value in your amp is perfect. It might be that everything is 10% out. It's probably more likely a random kind of, each thing's a little bit different. So if you try 10 of the same amp back to back, they've all got different character. I mean, it's subtle, and some of the simpler designs of amps have, less variation because there's less parts in there. But they all do behave differently. And this particular one, he hit some notes, and instead of it going like 5150 usually does, it kind of went jing 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 and had that
nice
that attack. And so we both looked at each other and went, right, okay. And that ended up because have you seen any of his videos? He's got a wall of amps behind him.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So one day before the production of the album, I plugged him into the system, and what we do sometimes is he'll just start to play, and I will start flicking between amps and playing around. Because, again, that's part of what I do as a producer, right? Is that I let him do his thing, and then I'll dial in a tone and then see what he thinks, because then he's not had to stop playing and change it and lose train of thought.
Yes.
So then he can focus on just listening to the sound and going... And sometimes he'll say to me, can I have less gain, more attack, more presence? I'm not feeling this. Can we go to something with a bit more? And he'll describe what he's looking for, and I'll change amp to something I think might. And we play around and we tone hunt, and it's fun. Yeah. And we switched in the 5150, and we both just looked at each other and went, oh, wow. Okay.
That works out. Well,
Yeah.
He's spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I lived closer.
Oh, man. I hold my hands up as well. I'm kind of... Yeah, but it's just years of collecting. And where are you based again, man?
Los Angeles.
Right. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
if you wanted to in LA, you could pick up some really nice amps for cheap.
Yeah. There's a whole.
I mean,
the market here is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what me and Brown
as long as
have
you're
done.
ready.
Yeah, I mean, apart from that Revv generator up there, which is my only amp that I've ever bought new.
Mm-hmm.
Every amp that I have, I've got in the second-hand market for way less than it should. I
Well,
just keep
actually,
an eye out.
I was talking about more of the collaborative side. I'd love to just sit in a room and have somebody else tweak amps for me.
Yeah. Right,
You know?
yeah.
So with this side, if I live closer, then we'd be able to do that more.
Yeah. I mean, it's also really good for me when he's doing that because I can then explain why different sounds work for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of something that kind of gets pent up inside, and I'm like, if I talk about it without it being in the right context, I just come across as the world's biggest nerd. And it's like, oh, I have a reason to say all these things. This is great.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a chance for me to exercise my inner nerd. But at the end of it, if the person I'm working with has come out with something they're happy with, that's fantastic. I mean, I've managed in the studio to get tones people are really happy with, where we maybe only have 2 amps to choose from. But if you've got more, great. But that's educated me over time as to like how a Marshall design will respond, how a Mesa design will respond, and those kind of things where it's not just about the player at that point. It's about how the player reacts with the amp.
Exactly.
And then we get into the conversation of, well, what is it that you're looking for? Is this a lead tone? Is this a rhythm tone? And then you can get into the real fun, especially because I do album recording. Of, okay, we've got a main tone. Now if I want to make that sound bigger, we want a second tone, and we probably want something quite different, so that when you add them together, it sounds huge and doesn't just sound like the same thing but louder.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing, if you go, I like that sound, and I like that sound, but they're almost the same sound,
Yeah.
there's no point in quad tracking that, because it just sounds like the same thing but just loud. And then you turn it down, and you're like, well, what was the point?
Yeah, and eventually in a mix, instead of it sounding huge, it just sounds like
Ill-defined mush.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, on the new album for John, the 5150 is the main amp, but actually the second amp is the Helix.
Oh wow.
Yeah, using Line 6's own Badonk model, which is kind of based on their big bottom.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound like any other amp. It's really mid-scooped, but it's got a definite chug, 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 chug.
Yeah.
And on its own, I'm not a huge fan, but underneath the other amp, makes it sound huge. And I'm all about that kind of thing.
So it's like it's like the low frequency track on the bass. Where you just mix it in underneath just to get to fill it out.
Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. But also that amp has quite a bit of kind of on top, where the 5150 is quite soft. And because Brown plays so aggressively and he's got that cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha kind of thing, that just brings a little of that in.
Yeah.
And because we can then balance them, it's like, oh, well, that part's got too much of that cha-cha-cha-cha. Turn that down. Turn the other one up.
Nice.
It's so nice to be able to just do that. And yeah, tone hunting. It's fun. Tons of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the other option is to do it yourself and just record it and stop and play and listen to it back and stop playing, which you can do. I've done that many times, but it's just so much more draining.
Yeah. Because you have to put on like different hats for each process.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the thing. Talking about this kind of tone hunting, just an announcement for people watching. Next month, we're going to have 2 different bands in the studio, live broadcast, where we record an EP for one band and an album for the other band in 2 days each. The second band is a punk band, hard punk band that do things in the room. They're one of those bands where everything, no click track. We're going to get the sounds, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, bah! And so they're going to record a whole album over the weekend, and the other band is more of a produced type thing. But we're still going to do a 4-song EP in 2 days.
Yeah.
But the fun thing now is we're going to do it live in front of everybody. Ooh, pressure's on.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I could bring myself to do that. I mean, if it's a proper recording session, it'll feel a certain way, definitely. But yeah.
Well, that's where the fun is. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be very interesting. But yeah, dates for that will be up on our channel very soon because that's going to be a lot of broadcast. In the meantime, next week I'm not going to be, or I'm going to be here for the podcast. But then straight after the next morning, I fly out to Germany. I'm back at Henning's house.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
What's going on?
So me and Henning, originally he did a live broadcast, and I said, "Hey, I should come down to yours. We should do some songwriting stuff." And he says,
Oh.
"Yeah, sure, okay." So the original plan was to go to his house and pretty much live stream all weekend while he shows me how to do songwriting. Because as much as I do music production, my thing has always been take other people's songs and make them the best they can be.
Mhm.
I've never seen myself as a very good songwriter. It's just not my strength. But Henning is very good at it. He's been a composer for years and years. He's a natural. But he also just understands mechanically how songwriting works. And I don't. So he's going to take what I can do and hopefully turn that into something where we get a finished product by the end of it.
Nice.
So
How
yeah.
many songs? How many songs are you shooting for?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping for one. If we get more,
Okay.
great. But
Nice.
that depends on Henning's methods and how he brings it out of me, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I can play if he says, right, we're going from this chord to this chord to this chord, I can play that, but it's like, what now? Lyrics? Oh no. I mean, he's had come on, brain. Everything's going out of my head right now. Jen Majora from Evanescence in the studio making a song about a cowbell before. So I'm sure he can get me to make a song about something because that's what he's good at. So,
Yeah, and, make a song about his favorite singer of all time.
One quick question from Benj before we go, which was considering upgrading a cheap Rode NT1A that he's got kicking about. Noticed the RK47 capsule on mic parts is supposed to improve it, but there are others selling other places for cheaper. Is there going to be a difference, or are they the same part? Have you got any insight on microphone stuff, or is that a me question?
That's a you question.
Okay, sure. So upgrades on microphones are a difficult one because the microphone capsule is where most of the sound comes from on a microphone. But there are different qualities of builds for sure. If you get like a cheap Chinese capsule, they're usually on a factory line. They're done completely by robots, thrown out, and they work. But the thing about a microphone capsule is that they are tuned. They're tuned like a guitar. Depending on how a microphone capsule's tuned, depends on how sweet the sound is or whether there's a harsh resonance like a sibilance. Because the resonances on microphones are actually really high. They don't usually sound like a ding ding. They usually sound kind of like it's not nice. So that's the kind of thing where I would leave that microphone alone unless you're going to a real reputable capsule seller, someone like Mic Parts, where they are they have the reputation of selling quality stuff. Because if the microphone works perfectly well as it is, you're probably risking a downgrade if you go for a cheap Chinese afterpart.
Yes, definitely.
It might be good, but it's a huge gamble. And it might be that you've spent money on actually making it worse.
Yeah. You could save your money and just go for the next step up from your microphone. I think that would be a better approach.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never been a big fan of stuff like the Rode NT1s and NT1As anyway. Not because they're bad, but because they're bland. They don't do anything special. They record things and that's about it, but they don't have anything fun about them. But then that's someone who, again, I collect microphones. Not necessarily expensive ones, but ones where you listen to it and you go, oh, that's a little different. And there you go.
You remember a while back there was a flood of Chinese ribbon mics?
Oh yeah,
in the market, and they look like the old vintage ones, but they don't sound nowhere near what they're supposed to be emulating.
Oh yeah,
but they did do one thing really well, and they were great for miking up guitar cabs.
Right. Because I had one of those and I tried it on a guitar cab and it just overloaded so bad. But I could have just been unlucky because the thing with those cheaper microphones is like we're saying quality that you don't know whether you're going to get a good one. And I don't know if I got a good one. Probably not.
Because typically like the ribbons on those are thicker than what they should be.
Right.
Which made them great for putting against a loud 4x12.
Right.
You're not gonna break them.
Right. Right.
But that's the thing with the Chinese made stuff. Like you said, they're probably assembled in a line, and there's not somebody tuning them, and for the most part, they'll probably be overbuilt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if I see anything like that, I might grab one on eBay secondhand, because it's the kind of thing where I like playing with stuff like that. But the experience I had with one I got, admittedly, if I bought 10, I'd probably have 9 good ones, and I just was unlucky there. But
yeah, I bought mine from a NAM show. On the last day of NAM, all the international companies are trying to sell all their stuff. That way you don't have to
ship
bring it back.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes. So there was this like OEM microphone manufacturer in Hall E, and I got a condenser mic and a ribbon mic. The condenser was but the ribbon mic sounded great on guitar. So I lucked out.
Yeah. Well, it's always good when you get lucky with that kind of thing. I thought you couldn't buy anything from NAM at all, but there you go. I'd forgotten about the last day thing.
I might have let the cat out of the bag.
No, I think you're right that on the last day you can. I think I heard that somewhere, but I went to NAM not last year, year before. Obviously it was closed this year. But yeah, I just didn't really know about that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the last day, and usually the international companies. The bigger companies, no, because those products are not out yet.
Of course, yeah. Oh man, I had to really pull some strings when I was at NAM a couple of years ago, because Audient had their new what do they call them? The Evo interfaces.
Yeah.
And they weren't out yet. They didn't even have drivers. But I'd made this crazy plan where I was going to record an entire song at NAM.
Okay.
And so I had to go and beg the guys at Audient to borrow one of the not yet released interfaces.
Oof.
And then run over to the 2-Notes stand and use the new 2-Notes gear on camera with it and try and get my laptop to work with this thing without proper drivers. We managed it, but oh my word, it was hard. I'm not doing that again.
I don't know if you saw my recent video. There was a pedal expo last weekend here in Los Angeles.
No.
And I did I went the first day not really planning to go both days. So first day I went there with just my camera and just took a look at the pedals. Turned out they had some really good brands there, Red Panda, Dry Bell, and Eventide, Beatronics was there. So when I got home, I was looking at my clips. It's like, it doesn't really do justice to what I saw, and it'll be just another like meh video. So I came back the next day, and I rigged up this mobile recording rig with my iPhone and the iRig Pro Duo,
right?
And then just plugged whatever output they had from their boards, be it from an HX Stomp or an Iridium or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I wrote the track around it.
Right.
So it was a much more enjoyable, pedal experience than just going, hey, here's a GoPro shot of this new pedal that you won't hear.
Right. I did see a post about that, actually. I've not seen the video yet, but I did see the post of you with the iRig, and I was like, that's very clever. Okay.
And it sounded, and everybody was like, you can see it in the video. Like I was doing my thing. Of course, they couldn't hear it. I was hearing it in my phone, and they were just, everybody just thought that I was just playing through the pedals. And then after I was done, I let him hear it. It's like, whoa. There's a phone and an iRig. It's like, oh wow,
awesome.
So there's no excuse nowadays not to get like decent recordings.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So, some good questions. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again, Perfecto, for coming on the show. It's been
well, thanks for having me, dude.
Anytime. Thank you for stepping in.
This is a welcome break from what I've been doing the past couple of days. I'm just so videoed out. You know?
Yeah,
so I get to talk. I get to talk with somebody who,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, thank you again. I'm straight back to work after this, as are the rest of us. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. We've got a new video coming out on Monday, and then the podcast again next Thursday. So we'll see you all then. Thank you everybody. Hit the like button if you wouldn't be so kind. If you're on iTunes and Spotify, give us a review if you would be so kind. Thank you everybody, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Hole Studio.